Has the Prime Minister fudged the numbers on defence spending? And is he about to bankrupt Britain to comply with his beloved international law? So yesterday, Sir Keir Starmer said this.
I can announce this government will begin the biggest sustained increase in defence spending since the end of the Cold War. Yeah. We will deliver our commitment to spend 2.5% of GDP on defence, but we will bring it forward so that we reach that level in 2027. That means we will cut our spending on development assistance.
But today, that has started to unravel.
Defence budget. Can he confirm to the House that none of the defence uplift includes payments for his Chagos deal?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the additional spend I announced yesterday is for our capability on defence and security in Europe, as I made absolutely clear yesterday. The Chagos deal is extremely important for our security, for US security. The US are rightly looking at it. When it's finalised, I'll put it before the House with the costings. The figures being bandied around are absolutely wild of the mark.
Yep, he is not ruling it out, is he? He promised £13 billion more for defence, but that works out as £6 billion in real terms, and now he won't deny that he'll use the money he's planning on sending to Mauritius to surrender the Chagos Islands as part of that so-called defence spending. In simple terms, instead of paying just for soldiers, tanks and missiles, he might spend that money handing Chagos over to essentially the Chinese, which will make us less safe. And it would also seem to contradict what his deputy, Angela Rayner, is saying here.
No one could have predicted the situation we are in Europe at the moment, and of course it was absolutely right that the Prime Minister said that we had to increase defence spending, because the number one responsibility of any government is to keep people safe. It is devastating that we've had to reduce the overseas aid budget.
Yeah, so using the defence budget to surrender our sovereign territory is not really keeping us safe, is it, Deputy Prime Minister? But if Keir Starmer does that, then that's absolutely shocking, and many might regard that as his biggest betrayal yet. But the Prime Minister now faces a huge problem here, because this judge, who is a Jamaican man called Patrick Robinson, ruled against Britain over Chagos. Now, it seems as though Britain is giving up the Chagos Islands because of a ruling by a panel of judges that included him. OK? Well, this is the same bloke who thinks that Britain should pay 18 trillion quid in slavery reparations. In a report he co-authored, the judge claimed that once a state has committed a wrongful act, it should be obliged to pay reparations. The report set out payment plans for the countries involved, but left it up to governments to negotiate what sums are paid. So apparently, the Prime Minister is taking instructions from a man who thinks we owe 18 trillion quid in slavery reparations. Why? So will Keir Starmer spend our defence budget surrendering our sovereign territory, and will he choose the ruling of a reparations-obsessed judge over Britain's national interest? Of course, this whole thing could be completely pointless, because the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, has tonight said that President Trump could essentially just veto the whole thing.
On a military level and an intelligence level, we're very intertwined with the United States. We struck a deal. After striking that deal, there was a change of government in Mauritius, and the new government in Mauritius had to have time to look at the deal. And there has been a change of government here in the United States, and the United States administration have had time to look at the deal. I still believe it's the best deal.
But does President Trump have a veto?
Well, if President Trump doesn't like the deal will not go forward.
Right, OK then, well that might be that then. Hey? So what's been the point of all this?
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private internet access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Right, on my panel tonight we have got the Associate Editor at the Daily Express, Sam Lister, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and historian and broadcaster Dr. Tessa Dunlop. Thank you very much, everyone. Great to have you all on the show. Sam, I'll start with you. So, do you think Keir Starmer's been fudging the numbers on this defence deal?
Yeah, he's clearly been playing games, hasn't he? And I think what's interesting is he says the numbers are wild on how much we are going to give to the Chagos Islands, to Mauritius, for taking the Chagos Islands off our hands. But then he won't say what the figures are. He tells us we're going to get 13 billion on defence, but actually it's going to be half that. You know, none of this stacks up. Everything about it. I mean, there is a technical term for this whole debacle, and that is bonkers. Everything about this is bonkers. From the very start, from you talk about Patrick Robinson, the judge, right through the whole decision-making process to where we are today, to David Lammy admitting that it's all going to be a massive waste of time anyway because Donald Trump can just say no to the whole thing. I'm baffled by it. Keir Starmer spent the whole of the election wrapping himself in the flag to prove he was patriotic, and then as soon as he gets in, he gives away our territory.
Well, what do you make of this, Adam? I mean, if we are essentially so obsessed as Keir Starmer appears to be with international law, and maybe taking the sides of a judge who seems intent on us paying 18 trillion quid in slavery reparation.
But we don't have to abide by that ruling. It was advisory. One thing that really gets me, I speak to people in the pub or on the street. We can't build hospitals. We can't build prisons. We can't fund our police force. We can't keep this country going as it is. But we can offer billions to another country to take our own territory off us and then pay them a yearly fee to service it. It makes no sense. Me personally, it is my opinion, and I'm not pointing a finger at anyone, that this is a corrupt deal and that someone down the line will be living in a lovely Mauritius beachfront villa on the back of it.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's not, to be fair, your view might carry some weight given that the former leader of Mauritius has been found in possession of several, or someone close to him anyway, several bags of cash in 12 different currencies, some UK visas and some Cartier watches.
It stinks.
But, of course, he would deny any wrongdoing. Tessa, I'm just going to put to you something that was mentioned in the House of Commons earlier on, right? This is a Nigel Farage clip, and he is basically saying, well, if we're doing this, why don't we just sell it to America, essentially? Let's just hear what Farage has to say, and I'm keen to get your views off the back of that.
Would rather see America have the sovereignty of the Chagos Islands that are corrupt Mauritius. Why don't we, if we're going to give this up, let's sell. Let's get a few billion quid for the Mauritius Islands, for the Chagos Islands. Mauritius has no legal basis, no legal claim, and you know what? Investment would come. The Chagosians could go back and get well-paid jobs. I want us to keep sovereignty, but if you're prepared to give away this country's interests, sell it to America. Don't give it away to corrupt Mauritius.
OK, Tessa, has Farage just nailed it there, do you think?
Farage is just leaning into the new strongman agenda. I think what all of this is a reminder of is the extent to which things have changed so quickly from a rules-based international system about 6 months ago, some people thought we were still abiding by, to a new era of strongmen. And the reason why Keir Starmer and David Lammy don't need to get too hot under the collar about this is partly because you're doing it for them, and secondly, because they know it won't materialise, because nobody seems to care what the UN says anymore. That's been very apparent throughout the entire Middle East horror story. Every time Keir has stood up and said anything, people just feel like, well, nobody's listening anyway. And it's very clear that initially there is a sort of naive schoolboy desire on the part of David Lammy to kind of lean into that international agenda that I think instinctively he wants to be part of and to lead. But it's just been blown up over the last literally over the last few weeks in front of our faces.
Well,
now, the implications of that are potentially dangerous, but Chagos is a footnote, yesterday's footnote.
Well, I mean, on the fact that, look, like I said, Keir Starmer is currently in the skies, along with our political editor, Christys, by the way, who's got some exclusive lines for us at 10:30. I think we're allowed to bring them to you. So we'll be keeping our eyes and ears peeled for all of that. But, yeah, a couple of big lines coming out this evening. So David Lammy appears to admit there that Trump can veto this deal anyway. So what has been the point of all of this? Has Keir Starmer and David Lammy not used quite a lot of political capital?
It's about mood music. It's about them looking like they're trying to do the right thing.
But they're not going to
who? I mean, who are they trying to impress?
Well, they're not looking to win your vote, Sam, or indeed any of the
I mean, who are they trying to win? 'Cause I don't think there's many people out in this country who actually want to see this happen. So who are they?
Not if we're paying for it.
Yeah, exactly. We're giving away potentially 18 billion. He says it's wild. He won't tell us what it is, which suggests to me it's not that far off. But, like, what is the audience here? Like, which bit of the country really thinks, oh, what I really wanted Keir Starmer to do when he got into office was, not sort out the NHS or all the other problems we've got in the country, but to give away some territory, strategically important territory, to a country that is absolutely tied to the hilt to China. It just makes no sense.
I agree that there is a naivety to it. And if they'd wanted to win a bit of soft power and goodwill from the sort of individuals, like, for example, perhaps myself, who would care about something like that, much better to give back the Parthenon marbles in Europe, keeps it friendly.
Why do you give away anything?
Yeah, well, because they genuinely are the soul of Greece and they really shouldn't be here. Whereas the whole Chagos Island issue as well, the people who really belong to this should be deciding on it and having their own little vote actually live in London and in England and Scotland, and they're the Chagos. Yeah, and they haven't been consulted.
Yeah. And just to, because there's a lot of different angles wrapped up into this story. So when Keir Starmer yesterday said, we're cutting back foreign aid and we are going to boost the defence budget, I think most people thought, good, OK.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Well, OK, fair enough.
I'm very pleased about the defence budget, but quite why it has to come from independent aid.
Fine. But now it's emerged that actually quite a bit of that money might just be what we are giving to Mauritius anyway. So that story about it's taking from foreign aid, so poor old Bangladeshi shrimp farmers and the like, to get more missiles, guns and weaponry and people in our armed forces. That story held water for about 3 hours before somebody said, hang on a minute, are you going to give them the money? Are you going to include the Mauritius money in this? And they're not ruling it out, are they? Do you feel that that's just another kind of lazy betrayal? Do you think?
Keir Starmer couldn't lay straight in bed. He would not answer. And this is what he does. Even pre-election, he diverts from actually giving you an answer and then he brings something else up. If we're to pay, say, £9 billion, that's £240 per taxpayer in the whole of the UK.
But it's not going to happen, Adam.
But if it's 18 billion, it's 480 quid. So it's coming out of our pocket and it's needless. There's just no rhyme or reason to do this. So why is our government embarrassing themselves so much? It doesn't make sense.
But let's stop getting distracted by the Chagos Islands, because this isn't going to happen.
Yeah, but it was going to happen.
But maybe
it's not a distraction. This is a huge strategic.
What happened, right?
But because we live in a very different era, and he's having to pivot 360, Keir Starmer. The fact that he dumped what was previously enshrined in law by a former Labour government, the international aid, which has already fallen from 0.7 to 0.5, and now it's down to 0.3, most of which is spent on hotels in Britain.
David Cameron put that into.
No, it was Gordon Brown. It was under Gordon Brown. I'm prepared to have that. We can have that out of there.
I don't think we should be giving any foreign aid. At the end of the day, this country's falling apart, Patrick. You go and ask everyone on the streets. It's OK maybe where you come from, but you ask someone on the street about Britain at the moment. It's falling apart.
What do you mean where I come from? Where do you think I come from?
I don't know, but
I'm interested by that idea.
We are giving billions away when our own country is falling apart. That doesn't sit
Are you
well.
OK with spending money on defence?
Yes, but
right.
This doesn't sit well with your average person in this country.
But do you concede the money for defence will primarily be used out with our borders? Adam?
I just don't think we should be giving...
So just to be clear...
We shouldn't be giving hundreds of millions of pounds to India, who have got a nuclear missile programme, a space programme...
But what about...
Or Pakistan. Why should we be helping them?
What about international aid money that's spent in Ukraine for those people in Ukraine who can't afford to be refugees in Ireland or Britain or Europe? What about them?
If I'm honest... And as harsh as this sounds, I'd rather look after our own than those abroad.
Right, and if that's your opinion, then why are you pro-spending defence money in Ukraine?
I'm really not.
All right, so
that's about the defence of Europe as a whole. That's not.
No, but it's just interesting.
That's not a parochial issue, is it?
But the truth is, Adam, if he wants to be parochial, you need to be holistically parochial. Either you care about what happens out there and believe it impacts on us, or you don't. And I happen to believe, I believe in both.
I don't think he does, because it's about defence of
I believe we sort this country out before we sort others.